Your Free to Go is sponsored by Milburn Men's Clothing, where top athletes shop for sharp, tailored style. And whether Mark and I are in the studio or the courtroom, Milburn dresses us for success. Mention YFTG and get 10% off at Milburn Men's Clothing, which has been providing the finest in men's clothing and suits since 1946. Call 651-645-2922 or visit www.milburn.com.
Guy, in our last episode, we promised the audience that we would tell them about some of our craziest cases.
Yes, we did.
So with that in mind, I know you've got this one. You told us about a prostitute who was carrying around a dead body in the trunk of her car. That's amazing. I got to hear this one. I'm sure they want to hear this.
All right, here we go. It was a good case.
And by the way, I want to tell everybody, because these people we're going to be talking about are not the famous people like Epstein or Rothstein, we've decided to protect their anonymity, so we're not going to be using their real names.
Yeah, I think it's the right thing to do, Mark. So I'm glad you reminded me of that as well. I get a call from a family member who says their friend is, their actually mother was arrested and in jail. Can I go visit her? I said, well, what's she in jail for? They said, well, something to do with a murder. We're not quite sure. So, okay. So I go to visit her in the jail. It came through a good referral source of mine. And I meet this beautiful, beautiful woman. She's 29 years old and just gorgeous in the jail. And we're talking and I said, well, what's going on here? So she starts laying out this unbelievable story to me. She worked as a living as a dancer, an exotic dancer at a strip club. She was very candid and honest with me. And she was telling me that she made a nice living at it, but that she had been there a few years and developed a relationship with one particular customer, a really nice gentleman who took a liking to her. He happened to be very wealthy, and he also happened to be married with a family, but that's a whole another story. And he liked her so much that he was tipping her very, very well. And after about a year of tipping her, he'd see her several nights a week at her exotic dance club. He said to her one day, hey, what are you doing with all the money that I give you? I'm giving you a lot of money. You got to be rich. What are you doing with it? And she said, actually, I just put it under my mattress. I don't know what to do with all this money. So he said, you know what? I'm in real estate, and I'm going to help you with that. I want you to have money for your future. You're a smart woman. I like you. We've been bonding for a while now, and I don't want that money to go to waste. So we're going to meet on Monday afternoon, and we're going to go find a house for you to buy with all that cash that I've been paying you.
Now, was she sleeping with him?
Well, they do have those private rooms. She wasn't charged with prostitution in this case, but the answer is yes. They did have a very intimate relationship, and he was paying her very well for that. So they wound up... It was interesting, though, that he really took a liking to her, and he wanted to make sure the money just didn't get wasted. So he went with her one afternoon and found a house that I believe it was like $25,000. It was a very small,
$25,000 house?
We're going back
Where
a
was this?
long way. It was a good 20 years ago. Showing our age, Marcus, was at least 20 years ago. And it was in a bad area of town. And she was able to get a house for $20,000. And he said, you're going to buy it for $20,000. You're going to put another $20,000 into it. And then you're going to rent it out. So that was the first thing she did with him.
So she was smart, huh?
She was smart. And she was smart to listen to him and follow his advice. And then after a few months, she had it rented out. She was getting more money from him, getting money from rent. And he said, I'm not going to let you spend that money. You're going to buy another house. So over the next 8 years, she wound up, believe it or not, starting from that $20,000 house, building up a portfolio of $20 million in real estate.
No, wait a second.
$20 million.
From that one house
yes.
to a $20 million portfolio.
Yeah. Her second house was $300,000. She jumped pretty fast.
Wow.
And, yeah. I think when it was all said and done, she had about 40 houses. Yeah, it was pretty impressive.
So was she getting more money from him?
Yeah, he was coming more frequently. He was so happy about it. It was really interesting. He really was, he was really invested in it. Like he loved, not invested. He like really cared and wanted her to do well. He was proud of her that she was finding these homes. She had found a really good handyman that was working for her, and she would get these houses that she learned how to buy right because of him. She bought low, fixed them up, and rented them out for a lot of money. And she builds up this portfolio, and he would go by and see every house. He was so proud of her. He'd go look at the houses, and she'd show him around.
And he was still married at the time.
Married, happily married.
Happily married.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. And and he would always come by, and he would be friendly with her, because they had a relationship in the club. So he would be affectionate toward her. And the handyman was always doing his job, and he was always watching. And, doing what we do for a living, you're probably starting to see where this story is going, Mark. At one point, he showed up, and the handyman was really jealous of this guy. Because he actually fell in love with.
Now, has she had sex with the handyman?
No, she swore to me that she had not had sex with the handyman. There was strictly business, but he really liked her. As I said, she was beautiful. She was a gorgeous woman, and she was good to him. She paid him well to renovate all these houses. And then he got really jealous of this friend of hers that was giving her all this money. So one day he came over to see a house that was just about finished that she had been so excited to show him. And the handyman just lost it. And he took a shovel and he killed the guy.
He killed
her friend who was giving her all this money.
No.
Yeah, he did. It was really, really sad, horrible. So she freaked out, as you can imagine, because she had never known any crime. I mean, she worked in an exotic club, which is legal, and she was never, around something like this. Her first thought was, he'll kill me too if I go to the police. He just killed someone in front of me with his bare hands. I can't go to the police or he'll kill me. And then she watched him bury the body in the back of this beautiful home that she was about to rent out. It was almost finished, and she just was beside herself. She didn't know what to do.
Wait a second. He buried the body in the back of the house.
Right.
Like when people bury dogs in their property.
That's what he did. I guess he didn't know where else. Maybe he wasn't a professional killer. I don't know. He didn't know how to get rid of the body so well. Yeah, and so he buried it in the back of the house, which was really upsetting to her. And when he wasn't there one night, the worker, the handyman, she went and dug the body up.
She dug the body up?
Yeah, all by herself. She swore to me all by herself. She put it in her car.
Put the body in her car. So wait a second. How big was this woman?
She was not big at all.
How'd she get the dead body in the car?
She swears no one helped her. I know you ask these funny questions because it reminds me, because it was such an old case. I remember her telling me she broke a fingernail lifting him into the car.
I think she would break a lot more than
right?
that.
Yeah. She was able to do it, though. She was a strong woman, got him in the car. He was an average-sized man. I saw photographs of him. And she got him in her car.
She stuffed him in the trunk.
Yeah.
What kind of car was it?
And it was, oh boy, 20 plus years ago. I don't remember. It was a 4-door something.
But it had a big trunk, obviously.
Yeah. No, it was a big enough trunk for this guy. And then it sounds funny, but
I know, it's
so
sad.
sad too, right? Because again, he had a wife and he had a family. So she doesn't know what to do. She's never been in this position before. And she's not going to the police because she's afraid she'll get killed next. So she drove around with it in her trunk. She went to Miami. She thought, maybe she'd dump it somewhere around the Port of Authority in Miami. She went to the Everglades. She told me she drove a lot of different places thinking, I could drop it here, I could drop it there. It was about a 3-week period.
She had the body in her trunk
for 3 weeks
in South Florida
in the heat
for 3 weeks.
Yes, in the heat of Florida.
I don't want to ask what that was
well,
like.
that's how it all got uncovered. One day the smell was so bad that someone called the police and said there's definitely a dead body or some animal or something dying in that car. And they came and she opened up to them. They're like, hey, what's going on here? And she let them open their trunk. She voluntarily let them
search.
And
she told them all this.
And then she told them everything that happened.
Which, of course, is why you can tell the story.
That's right. Yeah, so she got arrested. First, they charged her, it's illegal to transport a dead body without a license. So that was what they first charged her with. And then as they built the case against her, they actually charged her being an accessory to the murder.
After the fact, is that what they call it?
Yeah, and the handyman got arrested too, of course. And what's so interesting to me, the mindset of our clients, what's really important to them. When I visited her in the jail, it was probably 2 weeks into her being arrested and in jail. Her big concern to me was, how can I color my hair? She didn't want her hair to, lose the color that she had. And it was so important to her. And as you and I both know, in jails, like you can get everything. You get tattoos, you can get cell phones, and they are actually in the jail. They can color your hair. They figure it out, some concoctions or whatever. So she wound up figuring out a way to keep her hair colored, and so that she didn't lose her beautiful look. At the end of the day, as we've talked about in other episodes, we're not allowed to be paid with ill-gotten gains.
Right.
And the family of this man was, suing her to get all the money back of the homes and so forth. And she wasn't able to keep me on the case the whole time. So after representing her for about a year, I had to withdraw because I stayed in there for a long time without her being able to really pay me the fee. She paid me a retainer, but not the full fee. And I really wanted to continue through the case. But I wasn't able to. So she wound up getting a free public defender.
What ultimately happened? Did you find out?
Yeah, I followed it because I felt bad for her.
Yeah.
I really, really did. She was just a victim of circumstances. And she wound up getting a 6-year prison sentence.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a serious time. Really
Wow.
serious time. But
That's insane. How do you... I've never heard of this. Driving around with a dead body in your trunk, and you didn't kill the person?
Well, you've never heard of it. It's happened to me twice.
No.
Yeah,
No. You're going to tell us about another one?
I have another one.
Oh, my God.
Another dead body in a car. Yep, and that's unbelievable, but it does happen. So this one's even better, I think. Well, this guy had to hire me twice. The first time, it was because he had, in his backyard, he had a bunch of exotic animals. And when you have exotic animals, you have to have certain license, and you have to have certain, fences have to be a certain height. The council, the city can actually come inspect and make sure the animals are being taken care of and they're protected. So this gentleman had a ton of animals, one of which was a kangaroo. And this kangaroo jumped out of the backyard. The fence wasn't tall enough, and it ran around the neighborhood. And the city kept telling him, "Okay, you got to get this kangaroo under control. You got to get this kangaroo under control, and you got to build a taller fence. You got to build a taller fence." He didn't build the taller fence. So after like 6 times of this kangaroo getting out, it got out again because he didn't build the taller fence. And the county actually said, "We've had enough. There is a statute that we can charge you with a crime of not properly containing your kangaroo." So they actually arrest him for his kangaroo. But the best part about this story...
And that's what they would call a kangaroo court, right?
Yes, that's where we get that term. Yeah. So I grew up on Captain Kangaroo, but that's a whole nother story. So
Bob Keesham.
Yeah. So what was so funny about this criminal side of this kangaroo getting out is that the news got a hold of it because when the media, they listened to the scanners of the police,
right?
And they heard everyone go to this neighborhood. There's a kangaroo on the loose. We need help capturing it. So the news stations all show up with their cameras, and they see this beautiful kangaroo running through a neighborhood, a very populated neighborhood. The police running up to the kangaroo, just about to reach out and grab it, and the kangaroo hops away. And it gets somewhere down another block. The police run up to it again, try to catch it, it hops away. For 3 days, these cops are on camera trying to catch this beautiful little kangaroo, and they couldn't catch it. They finally catch it. The guy, my client, built the tall fence, and everything was fine. The kangaroo lived happily ever after. Right? So we still have to get to the part about the dead body in the car. Well, here's where it gets really good. Several years later, I'd say it's about 3-4 years later, it's late at night. I'm sitting at home with my wife, and my phone rings. And the phone rings, and the guy says, "Oh, I'm in jail, got arrested for murder." And it turns out it's the same guy who owned the kangaroo. So I'm like, wow, what the heck happened, So he's telling me the whole story. It's like 11 o'clock, I think, at night. I hang up the phone. And I tell him I'll come see him in the morning at the jail. And my wife says, "What was that about? Who is that?" I said, "I got a client. He's in the, I'm going to make this up just for anonymity purposes. He's in the plumbing business, right? And he got arrested for murder." And she goes, "What's his name?" I mentioned his name. She goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe that. That's your client. He got arrested for murder." I said, "Why?" She said, "Well, my wife, so she's a realtor, residential realtor." She says, "Guy, every time we sell a house, we give a list of preferred providers for pest control, for pool cleaning, for lawn maintenance, for plumbing." She goes, "That's the guy that we give out as the preferred provider for plumbing." She says, "I've been in 50 homes with him alone. And now you're telling me this guy murdered somebody." I'm like, I can't believe that. What a small world. So here's what happened with this murder. like the kangaroo wasn't serious enough. And now he really took it to a whole nother level. So he was married, he was engaged to a really nice lady. I met her during the whole kangaroo case. She was a lovely lady. And now they're engaged, they're going to get married. And she was out on a business trip out of town. Well, lo and behold, my client was having an affair with his fiance's daughter. She was 23 years old. He's having an affair with her. She's over at his house. It's 3 a.m. They're fooling around. His fiance, the mother of the girl he's having an affair with, is off on her business trip. And this young girl allegedly falls, hits her head, and dies. My client freaks out. What am I going to do? How do I explain this? Why is she at my home at 3 a.m. and dead, naked, and so on and so on? So he panics. He doesn't know what to do. Of course, he's telling me it was a total accident. She slipped and fell, hit her head. Doesn't know what to do. He's not going to come clean. His fiance will go crazy. The whole community will go crazy, the family. So he puts her in the trunk of his car.
Oh, my God.
Again. He puts his dead body in the trunk of his car. And instead of driving around for 3 weeks in his car like the stripper at the exotic dance club, he drives about 15 miles or so north on the highway. He finds an overpass where there's a river underneath it, and he drops her body in the river.
Oh, my God.
And he goes home. You know, within a day, the police come by, ask him questions because this young girl isn't, you know, she disappears basically. No one knows where she is. Police are investigating. They say, hey, you know, we know, you're engaged to her mom. When was the last time you saw her? They do the whole, investigation. And, now this is fairly recent, by the way. We now know that a lot of houses have these ring cams, these doorbells that have cameras on them.
Right.
Well, the police were able to show that his truck had picked her up that night, like at midnight, from her home. He had parked 2 houses away and stopped, and she came out of her house. They have it all on these doorbell ring cams where she's sneaking out of her house, running and hopping in his car, in his truck. And then they have him, through the different, a camera at an intersection, a camera at a bank, a camera there. And they're able to trace him all the way back to his house. And then they follow the truck further and they get it and when they figure out, oh, he lied to us when he said he hasn't seen her in days. And then they wind up arresting him, and he confessed to what happened. He confessed, a lot of people, as you know, they confess. They admit to what they did, sometimes because they feel like, it's the right thing to do and come clean and cathartic in a sense.
Right. And police count on that.
Yeah, they do.
And they make it very clear in their interrogation.
Right. Sometimes, though, I'll sit in court, as you have, and we'll see some repeat offenders. They've been arrested 20 times, and you see the police report that they confessed every single time. And you're like, don't you realize every time you confess, that's why you keep getting convicted? Why don't you just stop confessing? But people tend to tell the police, a lot of times, not all, but they do tell the police the truth. And in this case, he confessed, and it was an accident. Meanwhile, that's, as I said, a new case, and he's currently in jail. He didn't hire me to defend the murder case. He was appointed a free public defender, and he's being represented now. And I wish him the best. And it's a horrible situation.
That's amazing. Well, from now on, we're going to check our trunks.
Right. Yeah. So I've had 2 of those cases, as unbelievable as they are.
Wow.
But I know we talked last time about these unbelievable cases, and we have so many of them. And the first one that came to your mind was something that I can't believe, because I haven't seen it in my over 30 years, is how you could be a defendant and a victim in the same case. I can't even, we watch all these great movies. I've never even seen anything that outrageous. So not only are our listeners interested, I'm interested to hear what this one's about. Your Free to Go is sponsored by Lang Realty, South Florida's premier residential real estate broker. Whether you're buying, selling, or renting a home or condo, Lang's experienced realtors are standing by ready to help you. Contact one of Lang's top realtors today at 561-703-2427.
Well, I have to say, in 50 years, this is still the craziest case I've ever been involved in. And it started with a phone call, like all our cases, from a fellow, I'll call him Fred. And Fred told me that, and this is all a matter of public record at this point, that He was a member of Scientology,
Oh boy.
and he gets arrested for committing this very sophisticated crime, this fraud, where he steals millions of dollars. And tells me that the reason he did this was at the behest of Scientology, so he could move up the bridge, go to higher levels within Scientology. I knew nothing about Scientology, and of course, I've never been able to substantiate anything he said about Scientology. I'm just telling you what his claim was.
Was he saying at the behest of Scientology that someone, like one of the leaders, said to do this, or that like God spoke to him and said
No,
to do
he
this?
said that people in Scientology were encouraging him to do this.
Got it.
So what happened is, as we started listening to this, my partner and I, who at the time was a former federal magistrate, we realized that this is a coercion or brainwashing defense, which falls under the category of an insanity defense.
Right.
So, it's
they're hard
weird
to
to think
prove.
about having an insanity defense in a white-collar fraud case.
True. Yeah.
And as this case went along, we discovered this guy was absolutely certifiably crazy.
Right.
And crazy to the point that he not only was going to the Scientology mission every day and telling them everything that he was doing in his defense, which, by the way, was blaming them, he then would go from there to meet with his psychiatrist. And we all know that Scientology, they have a problem. They don't believe in psychiatry or psychology. And he would go to his psychiatrist and tell his psychiatrist everything he was doing with Scientology. So he's basically being a double agent against himself.
It sounds like Tom Cruise, but that's a whole
It's
nother
crazy.
thing. Yeah.
So, and his psychiatrist was right out of central casting for the Sigmund Freud story.
Oh, but with the beard and all.
Oh
probably,
my
right?
God! He is an older fellow with this thick German accent, and I went to his office. It was like drapes from 1800.
Oh wow!
It was crazy. And as we went further and further into this case, we learned more and more about this crazy client, who, by the way, had a wife that he talked into through some crazy scheme, this beautiful woman to marry him. And she realized that he had hoodwinked her, so she would charge him for sex.
Oh my!
And we had checks where he would pay her, and in the memo section of the checks would say what the sexual act was.
Wow! Wow!
It was absolutely insane. And then we find out that his whole belief system is that he is a spirit that's trillions of years old, that the Earth, according to him, is a prison planet, that he wrote books about this, and it just was crazy.
Had he been involved in Scientology for a long time?
That's what he
to
claimed.
get to that point.
And of course, what happened is Scientology was rejecting everything he was saying about them. And of course, they were working with the government to debunk him because he was attacking them.
Right.
So the case got crazier and crazier. And we realized as time's going on, this guy's going back and forth between two enemy camps, talking about what he's doing with each. And then he's meeting with us, and the stories he's telling us are absolutely insane.
Is Scientology also a victim here?
Well, they claimed that he made a false accusation against him.
And what I always hear is Scientology is super rich and super powerful.
Well, super powerful.
So were they
super
really
rich.
engaged in pushing this case?
They were engaged in pushing against his claim.
Right.
And they believed it was false. And as I said, I've never been able to substantiate what he said because he was certifiably nuts.
Yep.
But then it got even crazier. He started telling us that Scientology was going to kill us. Because after all, we're representing him. We are the ones helping him make this claim against Scientology and blaming them for this massive fraud. So he tells us they're going to try to send packages of poison. This is when the anthrax thing was going on. So we listened to him, every time he said something, we took it, with a grain of salt.
Right.
And one day, a package arrives at our office.
Wow.
And it's wrapped in a way that looks like it's very suspicious. And we decide not to open it because the address it came from was an unknown address. We called the FBI because we thought maybe there's a possibility he's telling the truth, because he's telling us we are now an enemy of Scientology.
Right, sure.
And they have an enemies
Right,
list.
and we've heard stories about them going after people. Yeah.
So we call the FBI. The FBI opens the package, and there's substances in there that appear suspicious.
Oh, boy.
Okay? And they're very careful how they handle it. And they go through testing. And there was something in there that was poisonous. It wasn't anthrax. So now we're being the victims of what we think is Scientology.
Oh, yeah.
And now we got the FBI investigating this. And we're thinking, boy, if it turns out that this is Scientology that sent this, boy, that's going to make his claim and his defense even stronger.
Not only are you going to have a great defense, but you're going to have a great screenplay for a movie that you could sell one day.
Right. Well, it's interesting you say that, because we hired two expert witnesses, two social psychologists and experts in what is called thought reform, which is really the technical term for brainwashing. One of them was the expert in the Patty Hearst case.
Wow.
And the other one had worked on the Synanon case years before, and they had apparently had put a rattlesnake or poisonous snake in his mailbox, and he wound up suing them, and he made a ton of money. So, we had this vision that maybe Scientology was behind this. Of course, the investigation went on by the FBI. And finally, one day, they tell us they've cracked the case.
Really?
We've now found who sent it. And lo and behold, they arrested my client.
Wow.
It was him who sent it.
So you weren't the victim
to
of
set up
his...
Actually, it's insane to explain this, but it'll give the audience an understanding of what then happened.
Okay, so you're not the victim of Scientology. You're actually the victim of your own client.
Of my own client.
Who sent you this possible poison to help bolster his defense that you were presenting in court.
No. His claim was he did that because Scientology, when he would go back and forth between psychiatry and Scientology, that when he was with Scientology, they convinced him to do something to completely debunk his claim against them, to destroy his defense.
Golly.
And by doing that, to set it up so that he ultimately gets caught sending us this package, claiming it was Scientology, will totally destroy his defense.
Wow.
So the day comes that we go into court. He's being arraigned. He's in front of a federal judge. And I appear. And I remember this judge. He was a wonderful judge in Fort Lauderdale, Judge Jose Gonzalez.
Sure.
Wonderful federal judge.
He was on the bench a long time.
One of the best. And I make my appearance for Fred, and the judge is reading the charge, and he looks up at me. He says, "Mr. Nurik, do you know you're one of the victims in this case? How can you possibly be representing the defendant in this case?"
I think we're all wondering the same thing.
And I said, "Judge, because we're going to have an insanity defense."
Right.
And we're going to have an insanity defense where my client was so insane that he tried to debunk his insanity defense in the first case that he's facing. And the judge thought about it for a while, listened to my lengthy explanation, and said, all right, I'm going to let you appear.
That's so great. Yeah.
And the case went on. Of course, as a result of that, we wound up pleading him to everything because at that point we could not sustain a defense. And we wound up getting a reasonable sentence. But the postscript to that case, that crazy case, is that shortly after, there was an article, a front page story in Time magazine about Scientology.
Sure, yeah.
And they went and they talked to Fred, and they went and they talked to his psychiatrist, who both talked expansively about Scientology and dis-Scientology. And they tried to talk to me. I said, I'm not going to say a word.
No, you don't want...
Well, what happened is Scientology wound up suing Fred and wound up suing Sigmund Freud,
Right?
double.
It's like, yeah.
And that was it.
It was smart to stay out of that.
And now, if I told you the real name, and I showed you this today, if you went online and had the real name and looked him up and saw his deposition where he talks about the Earth as a prison planet,
The
he
body
talks
is
about
not-
being trillions of years old,
and his body's
why
not really
he
a
doesn't
body.
why he doesn't like milk as a baby because he was poisoned in a former life.
At 6 months old, he remembers.
You'll absolutely conclude he was crazy.
He was definitely crazy. Did he get acquitted, or you just said he took
No,
a deal?
we wound up working out a deal. He did a short period of time,
Okay.
and then he got out. And it was a crazy case. It was in San Francisco. So I got a chance to go. You know, one of the things you and I have done is we've traveled all over the country handling cases.
Right.
And, you know, sometimes we get to great places, and sometimes we get to places that time forgot.
True. I always enjoy going to a new courthouse I haven't been at because, you know, it's fresh, it's exciting. You get those butterflies that you get when you were first starting out as a lawyer. You know, if there's, you know, let's say 20 courthouses that we go to on a regular basis. So you just walk in, you feel like it's your home court advantage. You just know it with your eyes closed. But every once in a while, you'll get that case in another jurisdiction you've never been to before. And it's almost like you're cutting your teeth all over again because the judge doesn't know you. The prosecutors don't know you. You know, the courtroom staff don't know you. They learn pretty quickly who you are, either because they'll Google you or they're here through other colleagues, you know, who we are coming in to try that case, or they'll see pretty quickly how we handle our cases. But I always like that. I think it's fun to go to different
Yeah, and
courthouses.
it's different everywhere you go. I mean, I had a case once in a small town. A federal judge invites us into chambers to talk about the case, and I don't know which one's the judge, but I concluded it had to be the guy wearing the Hawaiian shirt, because who else is sitting around a table in a court wearing a Hawaiian shirt?
Only the judge.
And this town was so small that I was afraid of missing my plane. And the judge, and it was the smallest airport I've ever seen. And the judge said, you know what? Don't worry about it. I'll call the airport. We'll hold the plane. And sure enough, they did. People on the plane weren't happy, but there were about 20 people on the plane.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, they were friendly.
And frankly, it was just insane.
I did a case in a small town that was so small that I convinced the prosecutor to put my client on house arrest, and we signed the deal. We leave. Everyone's happy. My client goes to probation with his order to be put on house arrest. Probation says, we don't have house arrest in this county. We don't even know what house arrest is. So he entered a deal for house arrest. So he was supposed to be on for a year. About once a month, I'd send a letter to the prosecutor that my client's ready, willing, and able to be put on house arrest whenever you're ready. The whole year went by.
Yeah, it's
never had house
crazy. I
arrest.
mean, I've been to, I remember one place I went to. I went up to see my client in the marshal's lockup, and usually you go in, it's behind glass that you talk to somebody, and they got heavy steel doors, and they buzz you in. I opened the door to the U.S. Marshal's office. There's a guy sitting at a desk watching TV with his feet up. And I asked for my client. He said, he's in the other room. I said, well, you know, do you unlock it? No, just go in. Open the door. My client's sitting in a room watching TV.
Right.
He's not in chains. He's not in anything. He could have walked out. If the guy at the desk went to the bathroom, my client would have been a free man.
Right. It's like my client who was in a prison, and they were playing tennis every day. He loved playing tennis. And one day he got in trouble because the warden's daughter showed up at an all-male prison with her girlfriends to play tennis. And my client said, "We have one more game to go. Hold on, we'll be done in a minute." She told her dad, the warden, and then my guy got put in solitary.
No, you can't make this stuff up.
Right.
I mean, we've seen crazy things. And, talking about crazy cases, I know we have a little time left for our audience. I want to tell you about one other thing that really stuck in my mind. I was representing a mob guy in New York. And I had been a prosecutor, prosecuted mob cases, but this guy was right out of central casting for a mob guy.
Yeah.
He looked like Paulie Walnuts.
Oh,
in
Sopranos?
The Sopranos.
Oh, I love that.
And the
Great
first
character.
thing we said to ourselves is, if we put this guy in front of a jury, they're going to convict him in 2 seconds of the extortion charge.
Right, he looked total mafia.
Absolutely.
Oh,
So we decided we're going to do a total makeover.
Right, it's a big part of our job.
Right?
Yeah.
So we bring him first to a barber, and that slick back hair now gets all puffed and close and looks almost like a crew cut.
Like
It's
high and
perfect.
tight.
Then, high and tight, yeah. Then we go to a clothing store, and we wind up buying him jackets that have the leather patches on the elbows.
A little preppy.
We buy him the knitted ties, no silk ties.
Oh, like square.
And button-down shirts. And then the final thing to the outfit is glasses that look like reading glasses. Of course, he had perfect vision,
Right.
so the glasses were clear.
Sure.
Now he looked like a college professor. Now we put him in front of the jury.
Right.
And lo and behold, the victim can't identify him, which caught us totally by surprise.
That's key. That's that moment.
When
where-
the prosecutor asks, who is the person you've been describing? Is he in the courtroom today? Please point him out. He starts looking around. He can't find him. Because our guy looks totally different
Right.
now. Well, now I say, oh, we got this case
Right, when there's
nailed.
no identification.
No
you figure
identification.
Not guilty.
And they put on another witness who wasn't a crucial witness to the case, wasn't going to really make their case stronger, but had a lot of bad things to say about my client, had worked with him. And during his testimony, my client is giving him the evil eye.
But yeah, whenever there's someone on the stand saying bad things about our clients, it's so hard to keep them under control so they're not shaking their head. They start steaming out their ears when they hear someone on the stand saying horrible things about them, and we have to keep them under control. It's not easy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And my client, according to the judge and the witness, I didn't see this, apparently did one of these.
Oh, the bow tie.
Yeah.
He's going to get him. Oh, yeah.
And the judge went nuts.
I'm sure.
And the judge, this federal judge, excuses the jury and threatens my client with contempt and warns him if he does anything else like that again, he's going to bar him from the courtroom and he'll watch the proceedings via video. Sure. So I talked to my client, explained to him, you got to calm down. Okay. The witness finishes his testimony. My client is behaving.
Yeah.
The witness walks off the witness stand, and as he comes by our table, I'm sitting here, my client's sitting at the edge. My client puts out his leg and trips him.
Oh, boy.
And the witness hits his head against the wooden railing. Oh, my God. The judge excuses the jury, holds my client in contempt, is going to decide what the sentence is going to be for the contempt.
After you fought so hard, and you're
Now,
looking
I have
at
a
it not
case
guilty.
where the government has no
Right.
evidence
Right.
against my
And
client,
you're so close to that.
but my client has acted this way in the courtroom.
Yeah.
The jury obviously hates him. What do I do?
We work so hard for our clients, and then they sabotage things. It's
Right.
really so frustrating.
So I have to stand up in closing argument. I've got to make an argument,
Right. Because the
but
jury,
I've got to explain this.
yeah, the jury saw it, right?
The jury saw.
Yeah.
The jury couldn't believe it.
Right.
Listen, when this guy hit his head against the rail,
They
I
heard
think
it.
he was bleeding, in fact.
They saw it and heard
So
it. And,
I said to the jury, look, I can't excuse what my client did, but I ask you not to hold it against him, because I want you to imagine what it would be like when someone gets up on the witness stand and you're fighting for your life and they're lying through their teeth against you and you can't protect yourself against that. Say he was angry. He took it out on the witness, but frankly, ladies and gentlemen, that was the only thing he could do at the time. It was inexcusable, but please don't hold it against him. Jury found him not guilty.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Then he was free to go.
He was free to go. Well, you know, Mark, I'm glad, because let's talk about the name of this podcast that we've created. It's exactly why we named it You're Free to Go. It's for that exact moment.
We pray for that moment when we're defense attorneys and when our clients, and it's not all the time, obviously, it's the rarer case that they're found not guilty, and then the judge at the end says, Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so, you're free to go.
Right.
And those words are like,
you know,
coming down from the sky.
It's the greatest moment for a trial attorney. Of course, it's the greatest moment for someone who's accused of a crime and looking at losing their freedom. You know, I think someone who's never been arrested or who's not a criminal defense lawyer can relate to it as it's the same as when you get pulled over for speeding, just so you can't compare it to a criminal prosecution, of course. And the cop says, you know what, I'm going to give you a break this time. You're free to go.
Right.
It's the greatest feeling.
Right.
And that's why we named our podcast.
That's right.
You're free to go. You know, we have so many of these great stories that are just captivating. We've been talking cases for years, and it never loses its
Well, we're going to have a
excitement.
lot to tell these people in future podcasts. But next time, what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about the types of clients we have, and the very interesting point that you mentioned to me earlier about when they tell us the truth or when they lie to us, what do we do?
Right. When they say that they committed the crime or didn't commit the crime, how do we handle that?
Right.
It's a real interesting challenge for us, and there's a lot to unpack.
And we got
there.
some great stories about that. So we hope you listen. We can't wait to tell you about these things. So tune in to our next episode. And until then,
you're free to go. Down Low Investigations is a sponsor of You're Free to Go. Behind every great criminal defense attorney is a great private investigator. That's why Mark and I use Down Low to investigate cases all over the country. Down Low can help you too, whether you're running a background check on an employee or running a background check on a blind date, or let's say you need someone followed or some other type of investigative work conducted. Down Low is the way to go. Call Download Investigations at 561-843-1806. Everything expressed and discussed in this episode are the opinions and experiences of attorneys Guy Fronstin and Mark Nurik and their guests. All ethical rules are complied with. Attorney-client privilege and confidential information is not shared or released during these episodes, and names, dates, locations, and other identifying information may be changed to protect confidentiality. Topics are embellished, and none of the statements made constitute legal advice and should not be considered or relied on as such.